Good evening. You're watching the India Development Debate. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Operation Rescue Economy is on at full throttle. Less than a week after the Finance Minister unveiled a stimulus package to boost the economy, the RBI agreed to transfer record surpluses to the government. Today, the government has also announced a slew of measures to ease foreign investments from India, including increasing of FDI limits in digital media, easing of FDI norms in single brand retail, and announcing export subsidies for sugar. Another announcement is now expected from the Finance Minister, possibly even this week, because remember, she promised 2 more press conferences, and that could focus on sectors like real estate. So what next? What now needs to be done to get the economy back in shape, and how do the announcements so far, all of these all together, measure up? To speak on this, I'm joined this evening by Ajay Bagga, market expert, Gaurav Vangal, country lead on automotive forecast, will give us some inputs on how the auto sector is dealing with what was announced last week and what more he's expecting. Sunil Kumar Sinha, Director at India Ratings, is also joining us for his inputs today. And I'm also speaking with Prashant Thakur, Director and Head of Research at Anurag Property Consultants. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining us on the show. Ajay, let me begin by getting your view on, what we heard this evening. And of course, there was a lot of optimism there from Piyush Goyal. In fact, before I come to you, Ajay, let me just play out for our viewers one very important bit of that press conference from Minister Piyush Goyal, which gives us an inkling into what may be coming next.
Well, as you saw, this is a government in continuous action. You saw Honorable Finance Minister giving a series of good news on Friday. You saw the good news we got from the Reserve Bank of India, which has been able to ramp up its profits very significantly, thereby creating headroom for large profits which can come to the government and large reserves which are free and available now. Similarly, today we made the changes in the FDI policy and other announcements that Honorable Prakash Jhunjhunwala ji has mentioned. And you can continuously hope to look forward for more and more good news in the future.
All right, more good news to come, says Piyush Goyal. Mr. Bagga, what is this more good news that you expect to see?
Well, the finance minister, when she spoke last Friday, promised 2 more segments of further easing, further stimulus, some kind of a package. So that's the expectation. She has met various segments, Tamanna, over the last 2-3 weeks. And we saw some changes on Friday. So definitely something for the housing finance companies, something for the real estate sector. A lot of developers have gone belly up in the last 1 year, and a lot of customer money is stuck in unfinished apartments around the country. So some kind of a package for that, something for affordable housing, I think those could be some things that the market would look out for.
Let me get Prashant Thakur's view on that as well. All the focus is on real estate. There are some reports that there could be, some kind of a fund for stressed assets, etc. Though there would be a counter to that as well, asking whether the government should be putting in money possibly in projects which don't deserve it. What do you think that the real estate sector is looking at from the finance minister at this point?
See, the biggest problem that Indian real estate sector is facing now is of stuck and delayed project, which is having a ripple effect on consumer sentiment, and because of which we have seen that the buyers have withdrawn from the market. So as of now, as it has been rightly pointed out that some kind of stress fund needs to be created, which would help the developers to clear, or let's say restart the construction of the stuck project. That will have a cascading effect on the consumer sentiment, where people will start to see that they're getting possession of their projects, and they would be encouraged to buy. Right now the buyers have completely withdrawn, and they are kind of they do not want to take any execution risk. So you will see they are sticking to ready to move in apartment, and as we speak, close to 1.74 lakhs of units are stuck, totally stuck across top 7 cities of the country. So other measures that have been announced, like bringing down the interest rate, providing some additional liquidity to NBFCs. I think the need of the hour is to provide some stress fund, create some stress fund that would be used for restarting the construction cycle. So we are quite hopeful, because the finance minister has touched all the sectors. Automobile today, retail was also given some respite, and some announcement was made in the sugar sector. So and it's a right time to take such measures, because we are at the beginning of the financial festival season, and the developer community is quite hopeful that if something is announced for the sector, we would see some kind of vibrancy in the upcoming festive season.
Okay,
so
Prashant,
yeah, we are quite hopeful for
no, I'm sure we are, Prashant, but I have to,
in terms of,
yes, Prashant, but I have to ask you, and it's a tough question here, but I must ask that there is a view, and some of it is correct honestly, that the plight of the real estate sector is also because some of the practices that the community was undertaking or developers were using, over leveraging themselves. Quality of construction was another concern. Delay of possession has been a norm more than an exception, and RERA sort of put the brakes on all of that. So part of this mess is self-made. Prashant, you will agree?
Yeah. So I think the structural changes that were brought in form of RERA, GST and Benami, I think that kind of have forced the players who were kind of they have separated the bad apples actually. So right now the players are genuinely stuck with the projects that need some last mile of funding to complete it. So you are right that the problem that we see is more or less kind of is self-created problems of the developer fraternity. But after the structural changes that have happened, I think the developer communities they have taken a lot of strong measures to kind of do the course correction. The focus on completion has been increased. Now there's no project being launched till the time you have the RERA registration. So these things are kind of taking the time to settle down. But the need of the hour is to now kind of provide that liquidity in the hands of developer who genuinely want to complete the project. Until the time you don't start the cycle of these delayed construction stuck project, it will have a ripple down effect on those projects which are actually on schedule. Because if you starve the developer from the fund, it will have an impact on its ongoing projects. So we have seen a lot of consolidation that has already happened. So I think those weaker players, those players who did not have proper corporate governance structure, have been already eliminated. So what we see that the genuine players are in the market, and it's time that we need to help them out.
Absolutely. I want to welcome Mr. Sinha to the conversation. Mr. Sinha, first, if you could begin with your comments on some of the announcements made earlier this evening after the cabinet meet, which includes some easing of FDI in single brand retail. At least to my mind, that was the most significant of all. Also allowing single brand retail to move to e-commerce straight away, instead of having to develop an actual brick and mortar sort of enterprise, which they can do subsequently. Do you think that these are significant signals at a time when we want to attract foreign investment in the context of a slowing global economy as well?
More than the global economy, let us look at our own economy. I mean, our own growth is slowing down, and obviously the economy is passing through both the cyclical as well as structural issues. So definitely this is the time when economy not only needs hand holding, but it also needs policy intervention. And so to that extent, the announcement made by the government today with respect to easing the norms for FDI investment, whether it is in retail or for that matter in any other sector, say for example mining, etc. These are a step in the right direction. But my own sense is that each of these measures will take its own time to play out.
Okay, then let me come to you with a question that we've been asking. We're expecting a second tranche of goodies from the finance minister in light of the fact that the government now has more money than was previously estimated, around 50,000 crore rupees more at least, thanks to the RBI surpluses that have been transferred. What do you see as the next logical move coming from the government in light of what they've done so far? From the press conference last week and from some of the announcements made today?
If one looks at the money which government has received from RBI, the estimate says that the additional amount which government is going to get in the current fiscal is about 58,000 crores of rupees. So, I mean, in my view, if you are really thinking in terms of providing a stimulus in the economy, then 58,000 crore is not too large a sum. I mean, given the fact that the kind of issues that are facing the economy. However, the more substantive issue in my view at the moment would be that had this money not come, government would have clearly been staring at a situation whereby meeting the fiscal deficit target of 3.3% would have been extremely difficult, and as has been done in the previous year, it could have resorted to expenditure compression towards the end of the fiscal, and also it would have continued with its off balance sheet borrowing, which has emerged as a major issue in the last few years. So, this 58,000 crores of rupees in my view will certainly be able to bridge that gap, but once that gap is bridged, then I don't think that government would be left with really any substantive money which it can really use for stimulating the economy.
Okay, so then that puts a bit of a dampener on the hopes that Prashant Thakur spoke about just a little while ago. Let me come to Gaurav, who's been waiting patiently. Gaurav, a slew of announcements from the finance minister for the auto sector. Some hope that the festive season, newer launches maybe will show a pickup. Do you think enough has been said, and what more are you expecting for the sector?
I think the things which has been mentioned last week by Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, I think this is good to have. It's not great to have till now. What we are expecting more is that two major things. One, government can provide incentives to scrap the vehicles. This is one of the things which I think we have already discussed last time also. Scrappage policy is a major boost. It can bring a major boost to our auto industry. The second important thing that the GST reduction. Industry is asking for GST reduction, but yes, after the transfer from the RBI, we have some money, and if we wanted to have auto industry back, I think this 5% or 10% for next 6 months, it will be a great move for auto industry if we can get it. But right now, I think government can provide some scrappage policy initiatives, or they can give us in another way that
but she did say, but Gaurav, on scrappage policy, just to come in there on scrappage policy, the FM did say that it will take time because you need an infrastructure in place. Mere announcement right now is not going to actually turn into something substantial for a while.
Yes, we understand that this is going to take a while, but yes, see, the policy has to come out. It is like a chicken and egg story. What you want first, whether you want a policy or whether you want a scrap yards to be built first. So we expect some policy should be laid down for us, so that some investment should come to these scrappage yards where they wanted to invest.
Okay, of course, that whole big hope for GST cuts is always there, everlasting from the auto sector.
Yes.
But if they were going to do it, or if they could, or if there was the fiscal space to do it, maybe it would have been done so far. From what Mr. Sinha is saying, perhaps that space is not there, which brings me to you, Mr. Bagga. you know, do we now need a reality check of what really we can expect coming in from the government? Sentiment boosters they can provide in large quantities, definitely. Say the right things, right policies, but maybe you need a larger kind of an infusion of liquidity at this point. Is there enough bandwidth for what the markets are expecting?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, and that is the central question. And if you see, Mr. Sinha has also reduced their GDP forecast for the year. Moody's has reduced it. Brokerage after brokerage is talking of a lower GDP. Of course, it will start recovering based on the base effect as we get into next year. But the need right now, Tamanna, is one on the monetary side. RBI has let loose its arrows. It has put in money market liquidity of 2 lakh crores on a daily basis, sustainable liquidity, and it has cut rates. Transmission has not happened. Credit has still not picked up. That's another issue. On the fiscal side, what we did in 2008 or in earlier years, where there would be a pump priming of the economy. Right now, of the 4 pillars of the economy, our exports are stagnant at 2014 levels. Exports to GDP ratio is less than what it was in 2014 today. Our private sector investment will not happen when you are only utilizing 3/4 of the capacity in the market. 75% is your capacity utilization. You will not put in new factories. Third big thing is government capex, which is 3 lakh crores on a $2.7 trillion economy. It is just a drop. It cannot make much of a difference. Fourth, which has been really been taking India ahead, is the private consumption. Now that has stalled, and there are multiple reasons for that, from demon to GST to job creation. All kinds of things are there. Now that is also something where the government has to step in, give a fiscal stimulus for creating jobs. You have 10 crore people working in textiles. Textiles is in a bad shape. You need a package. For real estate, again, building on what Prashant said, out of 3,700 developers, large developers that were there 2 years back, only 1,700 are surviving. Quite a few of them are behind bars also. That is the condition, with 3 to 4 years of inventory lying unsold and a lot of people's money stuck. Real estate, construction, and pump priming, the easiest way is put in a lot of money into construction, into infrastructure building. That has a huge multiplier for the economy. And third, give the middle class a tax cut. Put some money into people's pockets in this festival season so they can go and spend. Like you have given a 30% depreciation on automobiles, give a festival allowance to all the taxpayers.
That's an interesting suggestion, and even the depreciation part was interesting, because a bulk of the purchases are from individuals who are not going to get this tax benefit. Gaurav, what are the less expensive things that the government can do? Because I don't know if that space is there for this largesse which is being described.
Yes, see, this is a very welcome point which has been mentioned just now. I think we have seen in the Southeast Asian countries that first-time buyers has been promoted by the government. So government can also bring first-time buyers incentive. Those who are going to buy some vehicle, specifically for auto industry, I would like to say that if they're going to buy some vehicle, those who are the first-time buyers, they can incentivize these guys. They can give a tax rebate. They can give the income tax rebates to these guys. That is going to pump the cycle. That is what we are looking for, and I think this is what a government can do for us.
Okay, let me come to Mr. Sinha on some more of those points that have been discussed. What else can be expected? Widely believed that real estate will get a boost. Do you think that putting in money to rescue the real estate sector right now is a wise move and something that should be done?
Look, so far as real sector is concerned, it is certainly a very important sector of the economy. And let me explain to you that if you look at the total investment pie of the economy, Then the largest investor in the economy is the household sector, which also includes the unregistered or unincorporated sector. And the second largest is, of course, the private corporate sector. And together, these two sectors constitute roughly around 76% of the capex or investment in the economy. Government is a marginal player. I mean, its share is just about 12%. And households' main investment is in a real estate sector. So the issue is that so long as real estate sector doesn't revive, it is where the majority of the household investment is going, then it is very difficult to visualize a situation that private corporate investment will revive. So I do agree that real estate sector has a huge multiplier. It is second largest employment creator in the economy after agriculture. So whichever way you look at it, it is an important sector. But as it was also pointed out that there are number of problems which are confronting this sector, and there is no easy way out. And finally, all these announcements that are being made are obviously positive so far as economy is concerned, but let us also understand that the slowdown that we are witnessing today is not something which has happened overnight. It has been part of a process which ultimately has resulted in a situation like that. So all the measures that are being announced will also take its own time to really make difference to the overall revival of the economy. It is not going to take place overnight. But here I just want to kind of make the viewers a little cheerful that even though the first quarter growth according to us is going to be 5.7%, which will be the sixth consecutive quarter of low growth, but because of the low base effect, the second half of this fiscal year going to be 7.3%.
And a lot of it will come from consumption. Right now, I think that's the big message which needs to go out. Gaurav, you want to come in on that part? Literally, people going out and buying more is what can change the entire situation in an important way.
Yes, definitely. If people go out and start buying, it is going to change. The festive season is the only hope of revival for this year. I think then we have to, for the auto industry, then we have to go through the phase of the destocking and restocking for the because of the BS6 norms. I think this is the only hope that this festive season brings some cheers to the consumers and also for the automakers.
Prashant, what about this from the real estate perspective and overall as well? Everything else is fine, but the truth is that the story of the economic slowdown now is so well known and is being felt by everyone to such an extent that it is influencing behavioral changes. It's influencing the way people are thinking and spending their money.
See, we need to understand that what is impacting the buyer sentiment. As I mentioned that we have close to 1.74 lakh projects that are stalled, out of which 69% of the projects units are already sold. So that means there is a huge set of home buyers whose money is stuck, and that is kind of creating a ripple effect. So on one side, the government is trying its best to kind of bring down the interest rate, lower down the home loan rates, but that will not propel the buyers to go in the market and buy, because they are kind of hearing all the negative stories, seeing the ghost township projects are stuck. So we need to kind of show them a picture that the construction is happening. Government has all kind of shown its good intention that it is hearing out all the stakeholders, but we also need to understand that to certain extent government hands are also tied up because they cannot announce a full-fledged fiscal package for all the sectors. We need to understand that the growth in the direct tax collection has been very, very low. So the hands are quite tied up. So if you see they have been announcing some kind of booster measure in terms of policy intervention, and they are kind of refraining from huge packages being announced. So I don't expect a huge fiscal package would be announced for real estate sector, but still there are some minor tweaks that could boost the sentiment of the sector. For example, let's say if one time GST waiver is given for a periodic window, for example, let's say during this festive season, a 6-month or 3-month window is provided where the purchase of under construction project would not attract GST. And as I mentioned, that the stress fund to ensure that the developers are able to restart their stalled projects would give some kind of positive boost to the sentiment of the buyers. So there has to be some minor tweaks in all the problems that we are facing. So
yeah, I want to make a bigger point. I want to make a bigger point.
We are not expecting a full blown fiscal package.
No, the fact is that the government has so far acted with caution. They haven't shown a sense of panic and let's throw money at this problem, which is in a sense good. There's also been a focus on sticking to fiscal deficit limits. So that conservatism is there, which perhaps in the bigger picture is a good idea. But Mr. Baka, I want to come to a larger point which has been part of this discussion and debate over the last few days. And you've probably seen a lot on the economic slowdown right here on the India development debate every day, but it's an important issue and very important to understand it from many different angles. Part of that debate has been that our sectors, companies and corporate India, crying wolf. In the sense, yes, they're hurting, something needs to be done, but to expect the government to bail them out for reasons that could have been caused by their own structural inefficiencies. Doesn't this situation, in a sense, and I'm not trying to be harsh here, give us a chance to relook at those deficiencies within those sectors? Real estate is one example, but I don't want to pick on just real estate. But there are several others as well. You talked about textiles, Mr. Bhagat. Textiles has been a sore point in India since decades. Have we become competitive at any point, the Indian textile sector?
No, we haven't. And clearly, even the US-China opportunity, if you look at it, Vietnam is today exporting 40% more to the US than it did 1 year back.
Yeah.
So the Chinese companies are relocating in Vietnam, and in fact, they've run out of commercial office space. Developers are building buildings as fast as they can. We have a lot of spare capacity available. We could have taken that over, but there are various reasons. I'm totally with you that the capitalists, the promoter owners are as much to blame for what has happened. We had the twin balance sheet issue of corporates being overstretched in terms of debt going into these last 5-7 years. If you look at the credit growth that happened between 2008 to 2014, that was unprecedented, and a lot of that credit was siphoned off by the crony capitalists. So that is a fundamental issue. But you have done a lot of structural reforms like GST, like DeMon, like IBC. You have to give.
Government has done it.
No,
have
so
companies.
At that time, you need to give a safety net, because you're giving a bitter pill. Look at real estate, for example. A lot of the black money used to come into real estate. There was a lot of Benami deals. There were those investor flats that any builder going in would first sell 20% to those so-called investors who would fund the entire project. Now those things have gone off with Benami, with RERA, and with GST now establishing a value link. A lot of GST refunds got stuck, Tamanna. So the working capital needs for the whole economy went up. 45,000 crores are owed by the government companies to various parts of the industry, to suppliers into them. Today nobody wants to take a government contract because of the 6 months to 1 year that it takes to get payments done. So the FM has identified that. They are taking the bull by the horn. But in this kind of an unprecedented change, you need to bring in a safety net. That is my only thing. I'm totally on with what you are doing, saying in terms of analysis.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not saying I'm trying to be harsh, but Prashant, you want to come in on this point that Ajay Bagga made?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, I would say that this entire sector, real estate, is going through a process of formalization, where, the weaker players, the shady players are kind of, exiting the market. And so the developers have, tried their best to kind of follow these changes. The safety net in terms of, you should not, you should kind of help the players who are genuinely kind of, stuck with some problem. You cannot just blame the developers. There have been certain projects that got delayed and, were thrown out of the timeline because of approval issues also. So at one end, you are being too harsh on the sector all of a sudden by, trying to formalize it by providing, putting in RERA, GST, Benami. But the developer community is still struggling with timely approvals. A delay in approvals is kind of, leads to a lot of cost escalation. So I think, it has to, the government has to look at a 360-degree view of this sector. I totally agree that there were some past mistakes that were made, and the players are trying to correct it. And the process of transition needs hand-holding. I think enough blame has been put on the sector. I think nobody is denying it that there was some kind of misdoing.
Yeah.
But now, if the sector itself is trying to formalize,
Yeah,
I think
and
there needs to be some hand holding done. There needs to be some safety net provided, and
it's too crucial. The fact is that whether there was some murky activity going on or not, it's too crucial to employment and in its vastness of how it impacts different facets of the economy, to let it just sort of find its level. It's a similar situation in the auto sector, Gaurav, which is why I was very keen to focus on auto and real estate today. There is a narrative, there have been comments that the auto industry has been, in terms of even products, not really churning out anything spectacularly new for a while. Competition in that sense, has it really been focused on what the consumer needs? Things like that. Do you think that there is scope to look within for the auto sector as well?
No, I don't think in this direction right now, because we are producing world-class cars. We are already exporting to the countries like US. The point is that we need to increase the volume. So we are also exporting to Europe. We are also exporting to Japan. So as per the competitiveness is considered, I think we are very good as of now. The only worry is that we have to find more markets. We need to find more acceptability to the Indian products, specifically when we talk about the auto industry. The other challenge which we were experiencing, but I think it is going to fade away. When we have a Euro 6 or a BS6 norms coming out, then there will be ample of opportunities available in the developed market also for the auto industry. We are very good at competitiveness for auto industry, specifically at the light vehicle side or the car side.
Okay, last point really from Sunil Kumar Sinha. We've spoken about how industry needs to really look within and re-look at this as an opportunity. Do you think there's any merit to that argument, even as the government definitely needs to step up with a safety net? I mean, the counterpoint to that is, we keep talking about a free market economy, but there is a lot of policy restriction in India.
Fair point, but let us look at the whole issue from the perspective of that while the hands of the industry in many cases are tied because of the policy, but the fact remains that industry has also taken shortcuts at number of times. So I mean, I guess it's not a time for a blame game. I think it is time to really assess the situation and focus on the positives rather than the negatives. So like, I mean, in terms of policy, if there have been delays or if the policy needs to be really changed according to the evolving domestic and global environment, then that is the need of the hour. And similarly, I mean, from the industry side also, I mean, so for example, auto industry, I mean, auto industry is and has come a long way so far as the production base, the capability, etc. is concerned. But let's not forget the fact that the domestic market is still protected by a very high tariff for the domestic car players. I mean, if those tariff goes, then obviously the entire playground will undergo a dramatic change. So,
Right.
I mean, these are the issues that needs to be looked into, and in a very calibrated manner, we need to move forward.
You know, the good thing is, the positives are that there is focus, there is cognizance of the problem, there is focus, and there is a variety of inputs coming in. The government has also shown the propensity to listen. Let's see what they can really do about it. On that note, the festive season per se actually begins from next week. Let's hope for some more cheer from the finance minister at the end of this week or maybe earlier next week. We'll take a very short break. So I want to thank all of you on our first panel for joining us today. Coming up next, we're talking about the legal fight that we're going to see in the Supreme Court in the first week of October. Five-judge constitution bench will listen to all the arguments on the abrogation of 370 in Kashmir, but there's still a question of communication blockade. I've got two top lawyers in a face-off coming up next, talking about whether the communication blockade should be there or not and whether it's legal. Don't miss it.